It's the week before we leave for our summer vacation, a long and much needed break I've been looking forward to, but the excitement is mixed with heaviness. Shocking videos were released showing starved hostages hidden in tunnels. One of them is Aviatar David, who looks like a Holocaust survivor, digging what seems to be his own grave. At the same time, our son Uri is in Poland with the Scouts, visiting concentration and death camps, a journey to remember the Holocaust, to remember his own great-grandparents and their entire families. The news and images are hard to bear. They take us back to one of the darkest chapters in human history. In the craziness of it all, with the news constantly in my mind, I try to focus and slowly get everything ready before we leave. Welcome and welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name is Moran. I'm a maker and homebody from Israel. I share these daily life vlogs as a gentle space, a bit of peaceful escapism, both for myself and hopefully for you too. Now let's try to breathe and try to get together into the coziness of this week's vlog.
First and foremost, the one I love the most is they're harmful. And it was essentially,
as I bind off the last stitches on my Mdays Scarf, I'm listening to one of my favorite podcasts, one of those episodes I know I will return to again and again. This week, I'm really hoping to finish writing the pattern for this new scarf and to share a few details about it here with you. It's the second pattern I've designed that combines both knitting and crochet, and I'd love to get it ready to send to my tech editor later this week. This one is the longest version. I tried a few different bind-offs, but in the end, I felt it didn't need more than the simple one. My goal for this week is to have 3 samples made so I can have 2 sizes made with a variety of yarns so I can include all the exact details in the pattern. Let's see if I can get it all done. And I also want to make some tallow balm here with you so I can take it with me to our trip. So I do have quite a few things planned for this vlog during this last week before we leave. And back to the Mdays Scarf. It's a lightweight accessory starting with a few crochet rows worked back and forth in the most simple crochet stitches, and then finished with a knitted frilled, kind of like a garter stitch edging in one side and kind of like ribbing on the other side. In this version, I added a contrast color in the last row, and I'm binding off with using the same color. It's just a little extra pop of color at the edge. And now I'm adding this option to the pattern as well. In this scarf, I used Cashmere by Cardiff for the crochet part, and a fingering weight sock yarn. I think it was a mini from Hedgehog Fibers for the edging, and all the exact yarns and quantities will be listed in the pattern.
To know what your levels are. There have been, 30 plus studies that have looked at vitamin D levels and all-cause mortality. So that would be, again, cancer. And people that have blood levels of vitamin D between 40, 60, maybe 80 nanogram leafy greens that are carbohydrate, but they're high in fiber and they're low glycemic index.
As I make progress and finishing binding off all the stitches, a lovely package arrived. Some summer yarns that I plan to use and make myself a new Emma tee with. Before Uri leaves for his journey to Poland, the Holocaust remembrance trip with the Scouts, we try to sit down and enjoy lunchtime together. I also want him to enjoy this almost whole sourdough, and I plan to make him some sandwiches to take with him along so we can enjoy it on the first day of the trip. After the boys finish lunch and Uri gets back to packing, I take a moment to myself and watch the Last Homely House podcast, the lovely Kate, who always brings me such calm and comfort.
Let's see what would go nicely there. Ready in their trios. But I want one for this one.
Heading back to my craft room to finish all the calculations and measurements and all the details on my first Mday Scarf sample, I'm going to block it. And I also want to start a new sample. This time I'll be using a fingering weight sock yarn instead of the cashmere. I'm going to use something that I have in stash. It's the Ultimate Sock by Malabrigo. I think it's colorway Oro. I'll make the longest size with this yarn, though it will probably turn out a bit shorter than the same size made with cashmere. I just want to make it more accessible and versatile because cashmere can be pricey and not always easy to find. And also, if I use a fingering weight yarn, it will add one more extra size to this lovely lightweight scarf pattern. I actually really love how the Mday scarf turned out. I mean, I'm showing it to you while wearing probably the worst t-shirt I own, and I should really just throw it away so you won't have to see it in future videos. While blocking my Mday scarf, I take a moment to gently shape the frilled edge with my hands, just taking my time to arrange the waves evenly. This helps the frills keep their soft and rippled shape once dry. First Mday scarf is done, time to move on. My goal is to have 3 finished by the end of this week before we head off on our UK adventure. The fingering weight version is growing and growing fast. I'm using the same hook size, 3.25 millimeter, just like I did with the cashmere sample. After just 2 hours of work, I'm already close to finishing the crochet part. And these little comfort babies, our new comfort tree is actually looking pretty happy here. And today's sunset feel like the perfect match for the colors in my new scarf. It's the weekend and I'm racing to reach my goal to finish 2 more scarf samples before we start packing for our trip. I also really want to have at least 1 more scarf ready to show the makers on Monday. That will be our last meeting before a long summer break, and they are all excited to start the new Mday Scarf pattern, so I definitely want to have it ready in time. This time I decided to knit fewer rows on the frilled edging. It just felt right with these colors. I used another Hedgehog Fibers stock yarn. Pretty sure it's the typewriter colorway and I really love it. It took about 20 grams to knit this edge and all these details will be included in the pattern. I did a wet block for this one but left it soaking a bit too long, so I had to reblock it later to correct the gauge. And here you can see the other side of the frilled edge, which is more like a rib texture. It's already Monday and all Monday makers have started working their own Mday scarves. After they leave, I get my third sample on the blocking mat and goal achieved. First goal done and dusted before we head off. This third sample is a bit shorter. It's size 1 of the 2 included in the pattern. It's made with lang cashmere and finished with the same Malabrigo yarn for the frilled edge. And all the yarn details for all 3 samples are clearly explained in the pattern. Today I'm going to make a tallow balm. Next thing on my list. It's something I really wanted to get done before we head off. I want to have it with me as we travel and shift climates from a very hot and humid weather here to a possibly drier, cooler one. That kind of transition can be hard on my sensitive skin, so I definitely want to have a tallow balm ready to be packed. I'm using the same tallow I rendered on previous vlog with you, starting with 1 cup, which I'm going to melt gently over a bain-marie. This time I'm going to try and add a teaspoon of Manuka honey, even though I know it's tricky to mix honey with fat. Honey doesn't really emulsify in fat like it does in water, but I'm going to try it anyway. And just a little note before I go on, I am not recommending tallow balm to anyone. I personally find it works well for me, and it's something my family uses and loves quite regularly. But tallow balm, especially with essential oils, can be irritating or even harmful to some skin types. So please do your own research. If you're curious, start with a small patch test, definitely not on your face, and only after making sure it's safe for your skin, because everyone's skin is different. You can see I added a teaspoon of Manuka honey, but it doesn't really emulsify with the tallow even after taking it back to the bain-marie and give it another stir. It's still very tricky to get the Manuka honey fully blended into the fat. Now I'm adding 40 grams of high quality extra virgin olive oil, and I was planning to add 10 grams of jojoba oil too, but unfortunately I just don't have enough of it left. It's a shame because I also needed it for something else today, which I'll be sharing with you right after this tallow balm. Next, I'm adding about 3 grams of vitamin E and finishing with just a few drops of 3 essential oils that I have found to be safe for our family. To be honest, I'm only adding them for a gentle scent, but I'm trying to reduce the use of essential oils where I can, since they can be irritating and even harmful to our endocrine system. So the Manuka honey still sinks, it doesn't really blend in unfortunately, but I still want to include it in this tallow balm because I know how beneficial it is for the skin. I'm going to place the mixture in the freezer for a bit before wiping it up. So, I got a new trampoline as a birthday gift from my family, something I've been wanting for a long time. I could never find one that would easily slide under the bed when not in use, and I didn't want it sitting out in the middle of our shared space. But my sweet husband did a bit of research and eventually found one that folds up easily and fits perfectly under the bed. So now we all get to enjoy a new training trampoline at home. I can't even tell you how much I wanted this in my life. Mentally and physically, I truly felt I needed it, especially now with all the premenopausal symptoms I've been going through. This feels like exactly the kind of support I was missing. I was so close to giving up on this idea, but thanks to my sweet husband, I finally have one. So welcome to the newest and most visible object in our space, our training trampoline. I think I forgot to show you earlier, but I took out a bit of the tallow balm before placing the rest in the freezer and scooped it into a small jar just because I like the unwiped version just as much as I like the wiped one. So now I have both versions available. I almost forgot to show you how it looks when it comes out of the freezer and before wiping it up. But in just a few short minutes, the magic happens. I'm completely hooked here. I just can't stop staring at it, watching it get white, fluffy, and creamy. And now let's get to the real part. Time to spoon this wiped fatty tallow balm into sterilized glass jars, reused ones I should mention, and wish me luck. This part always gets very messy. You can clearly see the Manuka honey particles, tiny bits that didn't fully blend into this white fluffy cream, but I'm happy to have it in my body balm anyway. I clearly add up just too much to each of the jars, but I just don't want to miss even 1 ml of this tallow balm. Next on today's program, a homemade face serum oil. Am I on a mission today? Looks like it. No recipe, just follow along if you'd like. I'm mixing a few ingredients that I really like and I have found to be good for my own skin. And the kids also find it good for them. So I'm mixing organic castor oil with a bit of olive oil, vitamin C, and rosehip oil. I usually like to add jojoba oil too, but unfortunately I'm out of it today. I will also add a little vitamin E and just a few drops of frankincense essential oil. Simple, nourishing, and definitely coming with us on vacation. Documenting the exact ingredients and quantities I used just for future makings of this kind. Feeling really satisfied with one more goal checked off my list before we are ready to leave. And this fingering weight Mday scarf just got its second blocking and it's looking great. The gauge is finally just right. Eventually I used about 40 grams of the Malabrigo sock yarn for the crochet part, and all the correct measurements are ready to get into the pattern. And with these 3 samples of the Mday scarf, I can now sit quietly, add the yarn information and essential details to the pattern and get it ready to send to my lovely tech editor. So hopefully it will be ready to be published soon. I wish my vlogs could just be about the little things I love, but right now that feels like a luxury. This painful reality we are living through is a huge part of my daily life. Whether I want to be part of it or not, the pain is always there in every moment. I keep thinking about Evyatar's mother. How will she fall asleep tonight? How does she carry the pain of her son? Will she ever see him again? Will she get to cook him the food he loves? I pray she will. I pray she will cook for him again, help him heal, and that I will never have to mention her here again. I pray for the human suffering to end on both sides of this horrible conflict. Thank you all for being here with me through all of this. I truly hope that one day soon, war will no longer be part of these vlogs. That this space can stay calm and peaceful. All I want is to have my simple life back again and share my everyday life with you. That's all I wish for. I'm so grateful you are here. Thank you so much for staying with me. I truly appreciate you more than I can say.